The Last Expedition to Atlantis, Chapter 1. The map that should never have existed before tonight's story begins. I want you to imagine something. Imagine that somewhere beneath the Atlantic Ocean, there is a city so ancient and so carefully hidden that it has never appeared on any map. Not because it was destroyed, but because it never wanted to be found. Now imagine one more thing. Imagine that, in the year 2041, a team of explorers discovers an old journal sealed inside a forgotten sea chest. Hidden between its weathered pages is a map unlike anything ever recorded. No country claims it. No satellite recognizes it. No modern database contains it. The map points to a place where the ocean should be empty. But according to the journal, an entire city is waiting beneath the waves. Most people would call it a legend. Others would call it impossible. But a small expedition decides to find out for themselves. They leave behind the safety of the known world. They sail into an ocean where compasses begin to fail. Where strange lights appear beneath the water after sunset. Where the sea grows so quiet that even the wind seems afraid to speak. And with every mile they travel, one question becomes impossible to ignore. What if Atlantis was never lost? What if it simply chose to disappear, waiting for the day someone worthy would finally arrive? Tonight, we will follow that expedition. We will cross silent oceans, walk through forgotten halls beneath the sea, discover libraries untouched for thousands of years, and uncover a secret so extraordinary that it changes everything they believed about human history. So make yourself comfortable. Let your breathing become slow and peaceful. Imagine the gentle rhythm of distant waves. The stars above are bright. The ocean is calm. And somewhere, far beyond the edge of every modern map, a journey is about to begin. Welcome to the Last Expedition to Atlantis. Last Expedition to Atlantis, Chapter 2. The journal from the deep. The rain had not stopped for 3 days. Gray clouds hung low above the North Atlantic, turning the sea into a world of silver and shadow. Far from any busy harbor, on the rocky coast of a small, forgotten island, stood an abandoned lighthouse. Its light had gone dark decades ago. No ships visited anymore. No tourists came to photograph it. Only the wind remained faithful. Inside the lighthouse, a restoration team carefully cleared away broken wood, rusted tools, and layers of dust that had settled over generations. It was supposed to be an ordinary project, nothing more, until one worker noticed something unusual beneath the old wooden floor. There, hidden inside a narrow stone chamber, rested a small sea chest covered in green copper and white salt crystals. It had been sealed so perfectly that almost no water had reached what was inside. No lock, no key, only a strange symbol carved into the lid. A circle, surrounded by 7 waves. No one recognized it. When the lid was finally opened, the room fell silent. Inside lay only 3 objects. A weathered brass compass, a crystal unlike any mineral ever identified, and an old leather journal. The pages were yellow with age. The writing had faded. Yet the first sentence remained perfectly clear. If you are reading this, The ocean has chosen you. No name, no date, only those words. The journal was sent to the Oceanic Research Institute. For weeks, historians, linguists, and archaeologists tried to identify its origin. Nothing matched. Not the handwriting. Not the language hidden between the English notes. Not even the paper itself. Then, on the final page, someone discovered something folded between two sheets. A map, unlike any map ever recorded. There were no country names, no latitude, no longitude, only stars, ocean currents, and a single mark drawn in dark blue ink. Beneath it, 3 handwritten words. The Sleeping Gate. Asterisk, asterisk. Most scientists dismissed it as fiction. A forgotten sailor's tale. An artist's imagination. But not everyone agreed. Dr. Adrian Hale had spent 20 years studying ancient maritime legends. He had seen thousands of fake maps. This one was different. It contained details that no ordinary storyteller could have invented. Ancient current patterns, deep ocean ridges, rock formations that modern satellites had only recently discovered. Someone, somehow, had known the Atlantic Ocean long before modern technology existed. Late that evening, Adrian stood alone before the enormous map. The lights in the laboratory had almost all been switched off. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. He whispered to himself, "If this map is real, then someone reached Atlantis before us." He didn't know it yet, but those words would change his life forever. Within a few weeks, a small expedition would leave the safety of the modern world. Most people believed they were searching for a legend. None of them realized they were sailing toward a place that had been quietly waiting for thousands of years. The Last Expedition to Atlantis, Chapter 3. Into the Silent Atlantic. 3 weeks later. The harbor was still asleep. A pale blue light stretched across the eastern horizon as the first signs of morning quietly touched the sea. There were no reporters, no cameras, no grand ceremony. Only a small research vessel waiting at the end of an old wooden pier. Its name was Aurora. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary oceanographic ship. But hidden below its decks were some of the most advanced exploration technologies ever built. Deep-sea drones, autonomous submarines, pressure-resistant diving suits, high-resolution sonar systems, and a navigation computer capable of mapping the ocean floor thousands of meters below. Dr. Adrian Hale arrived first. He carried nothing except a weatherproof backpack, the mysterious journal, and the folded map that had already changed his life. One by one, the rest of the expedition quietly stepped aboard. Dr. Maya Carter, a marine biologist who had spent years studying creatures living in complete darkness beneath the sea. Captain Nathan Brooks, a sailor whose calm voice had guided ships safely through storms for nearly 30 years. Professor Elena Varga, an expert in forgotten civilizations and ancient languages. Lucas Reed, a robotics engineer responsible for the underwater drones. And finally, Daniel Ross, the expedition's documentary filmmaker. His job seemed simple. Record everything, no matter what happened. As the sun slowly rose above the horizon, the Aurora left the harbor. Its engines hummed softly. The shoreline became smaller. The lighthouse disappeared behind the morning mist. Ahead, only the Atlantic remained. For the first 2 days, everything felt normal. The ocean was peaceful. Dolphins occasionally swam beside the ship. Seabirds circled overhead. Every evening, the crew gathered in the observation room where Adrian carefully compared the ancient map with modern satellite images. The differences made no sense. According to every digital map, the area they were approaching was nothing more than deep open water. According to the ancient journal, it was the beginning of something called the Silent Sea. Asterisk, asterisk. On the third night, the first impossible thing happened. Lucas frowned as he checked the navigation monitor. That's strange. The GPS had frozen. The backup system stopped a few seconds later. Then the satellite connection disappeared completely. Captain Brooks calmly switched to traditional navigation. He reached for the magnetic compass. The needle spun wildly, round and round, without ever pointing north. No one spoke. The ocean around them had become perfectly still. There were no waves, no wind, no sound of distant birds. Even the ship itself seemed to glide through a silence so complete that everyone instinctively lowered their voices. Daniel looked toward the horizon through his camera. "There isn't even any fog," he whispered. "So why can't I see the stars anymore?" Everyone looked up. The sky was clear, yet one by one, the familiar constellations had vanished. Not hidden by clouds, simply gone. Professor Elena slowly opened the ancient journal. Her eyes stopped on a sentence she had not noticed before. She read it aloud. "When the stars refuse to guide you, do not fear. It means the ocean has begun to guide you instead." A cold silence settled over the room. Adrian carefully folded the journal closed. For the first time since the expedition had begun, no one believed this was simply a search for an ancient city anymore. Something else, something far older, already knew they were there. Outside, far beneath the dark water, a single blue light appeared, then another, then hundreds, like an entire city slowly waking from a sleep that had lasted thousands of years. The Last Expedition to Atlantis, Chapter 4. The Blue Lights Beneath the Sea. Part 1. No one aboard the Aurora spoke. Hundreds of glowing blue lights shimmered beneath the surface of the Atlantic, moving slowly through the darkness like stars that had somehow fallen into the ocean. At first, they appeared scattered. Then, almost unbelievably, they began to arrange themselves, not randomly, not like schools of fish, but in perfect circles. Each ring slowly expanded before another formed inside it, creating patterns so precise that they seemed almost mathematical. Lucas stared at the sonar display. His voice was barely louder than a whisper. "I've never seen anything like this." The sonar wasn't detecting fish. It wasn't detecting rocks. It wasn't detecting underwater currents. Instead, Every few seconds, the screen simply went blank, then returned, blank again, then returned, as though something beneath the sea was interrupting every signal the ship tried to send. Captain Brooks rested both hands on the wheel. For 30 years he had crossed nearly every ocean on Earth. Storms, icebergs, hurricanes, pirates, equipment failures. He had faced them all. Yet nothing had ever unsettled him quite like silence. Because silence, the kind surrounding the aurora now, did not belong to the sea. It felt as if the ocean itself were listening. Dr. Adrian Hale slowly unfolded the ancient map across the navigation table. The paper trembled slightly beneath his fingers. Not because of fear, because the ship itself had stopped moving. No engine failure, no anchor. The vessel simply stopped, as though invisible hands had gently caught it. No wave struck the hull, no wind touched the sails. Even the rain had disappeared. Only the glowing blue circles beneath the water continued their slow and graceful dance. Professor Elena leaned closer to the journal. Another sentence had appeared. She was certain it had not been there before. The faded ink seemed darker now, almost fresh. She read quietly. When the sea becomes silent, do not command it. Do not challenge it. Simply wait. The first gate opens only for those who know patience. No one questioned how the words had appeared. Somehow, that mystery already felt smaller than everything else surrounding them. Minutes passed, perhaps longer. Time itself seemed strangely uncertain. Daniel lifted his camera toward the horizon. The digital clock in the corner of the screen flickered. 3:17. Then, 3:17 again. It refused to change. Lucas checked his wristwatch. Its second hand had stopped. Every clock aboard the Aurora showed exactly the same time. 3:17. Captain Brooks quietly removed the batteries from one clock. When he placed them back inside, it still showed 3:17. No ticking. No movement. Only silence. Dr. Meyer walked slowly to the side of the ship and looked into the perfectly clear water. The blue lights were much closer now. They were not floating. They were attached to something. Something enormous. A shadow. Far below. At first, she thought it was simply a ridge on the ocean floor. Then the shadow moved. Not quickly. Almost imperceptibly. Just enough to remind her that stone should never move. Her breathing slowed. "Adrian," she whispered. "I don't think we're looking at lights." He joined her. Together they stared into the darkness below. The glowing circles outlined the edges of something impossible. Straight lines. Perfect angles. Massive pillars, staircases, walls. An entire structure hidden beneath nearly 4,000 meters of water. Professor Elena dropped the journal. Her voice trembled. "Those aren't ruins." "No," Adrian answered quietly. "They're buildings." The entire crew remained frozen. Every satellite image, every scientific survey, every map humanity had ever created, had claimed there was nothing here. Yet beneath their ship, an entire city slept. Not broken, not buried, waiting. The blue lights slowly faded, one by one, until only darkness remained. Then, a deep sound echoed through the hull. Not an explosion, not metal breaking. It sounded almost like a giant stone door opening somewhere beneath the ocean. Captain Brooks looked toward every instrument. Depth indicators, pressure sensors, navigation systems. Everything had failed, except one. The old brass compass found inside the sea chest. It rested quietly on the table. For the first time since the expedition began, its needle moved with complete certainty. It pointed directly downward, not north, not south, down, toward the city beneath them. No one spoke, because every person aboard the Aurora understood the same terrifying thought. They had spent weeks searching for Atlantis, but perhaps Atlantis had already found them. The Last Expedition to Atlantis, Chapter 4. The Blue Lights Beneath the Sea. Part 2. No one moved. The brass compass remained perfectly still. Its needle continued pointing toward the darkness beneath the ship. Not north, not south, only downward. Captain Brooks slowly broke the silence. I've spent 30 years following the sea. He looked once more at the compass. And tonight, the sea is asking us to follow it. No one argued. Outside, the Atlantic remained unnaturally calm. Not a single wave touched the side of the Aurora. It was as though the entire ocean had become a sheet of black glass stretching endlessly beneath the stars. Dr. Adrian Hale carefully rolled up the ancient map. His hands no longer shook. Fear had slowly changed into curiosity. For 20 years he had searched for forgotten civilizations. Tonight, for the first time, one of them seemed to be searching for him. He looked around the room. "We came here for answers," he said softly, "but from this moment on, every decision matters." No one spoke. Instead, one by one, every member of the expedition quietly nodded. Within 30 minutes, preparations had begun. Deep below the main deck rested the expedition's most valuable machine, a deep-sea exploration submersible. Its name was *** Orion. Small, silent, built to survive crushing ocean pressure nearly 6,000 meters below the surface. Lucas carefully inspected every electrical system, every battery, every oxygen tank. Everything worked perfectly. Almost perfectly. One small warning light refused to turn off. Unknown magnetic interference. ***. Lucas frowned. He disconnected the navigation computer. The warning remained. He replaced every sensor. Still, the same warning, as though something beneath the sea was reaching upward, touching every machine aboard the Orion. Dr. Maya Chapter 4, Part 4. The Eyes That Remembered. No one moved. Not because they were frozen with fear, but because the room itself seemed to be waiting. The two colossal statues, standing on either side of the endless corridor, had opened their eyes only a fraction. just enough for pale blue light to escape. Not a bright light, a sleeping light, like moonlight resting beneath deep water. It spread silently across the stone floor until it reached the boots of the expedition. No warmth, no cold, only a strange feeling, as though the light was listening. Professor Alden slowly lowered the lamp in his hand. The artificial light suddenly felt loud, almost rude. The ocean outside remained perfectly still. Even the drifting sand beyond the broken doorway had stopped moving, as if the sea itself had taken a slow, patient breath. Then, one of the statues blinked, only once. The movement was impossibly gentle. Stone eyelids, untouched for thousands of years, closed and opened with the softness of falling snow. No grinding, no cracking, no ancient dust, only silence. Maya felt her heartbeat echo inside her diving suit. She wanted to speak. Instead, she found herself whispering, "Are they alive?" No one answered, because no one knew. The statues still hadn't moved. Only their eyes, watching, not judging, simply watching, as though they had been waiting for someone to arrive. For a very, very long time. A single drop of water drifted upward instead of down. Then another, then dozens. Tiny silver droplets floated lazily through the chamber, ignoring gravity completely. Lucas stared. "That's impossible." The words barely escaped his lips. The droplets gathered together between the two statues. Slowly, patiently, like stars gathering into a constellation. A glowing sphere formed in the air. Inside it, shapes began to appear. At first they were only shadows, then colors, then an entire city. Not a drawing, not a projection, a memory. Golden towers stretched toward a sky that no longer existed. Wide canals shimmered beneath elegant bridges. Children ran through gardens filled with trees whose leaves glowed softly like polished emeralds. Boats glided without sails. Birds circled crystal domes. Music floated through open streets. No engines, no shouting, no rush, only harmony. The explorers watched in complete silence. It was Atlantis. Not the ruins, not the legend. Atlantis. Alive. The vision drifted slowly before them like a dream refusing to wake. People smiled as they walked through markets filled with impossible flowers. Scholars traced glowing symbols onto floating tablets. Artists carved sculptures that seemed almost ready to breathe. Every face carried a calm confidence. A civilization that believed tomorrow would always come. Then, the vision changed. Almost too slowly to notice. The sky darkened. One child looked upward. Another stopped laughing. The canals trembled. Tiny circles spread across perfectly still water. Far away, a tower rang a bell. Only once. No panic followed. People simply looked toward the horizon, waiting, as though they already understood, as though they had known this day would arrive eventually. Professor Alden felt an ache he couldn't explain. Not sadness, not fear, something older, the feeling of remembering a place he had never visited. Beside him, Maya noticed tears floating inside her diving mask. She hadn't realized she was crying. The statues continued watching. Neither moved, neither spoke, yet somehow, the explorers understood. These were not guardians built to keep people out. They were witnesses. Witnesses who had promised never to forget. Even after oceans swallowed kingdoms. Even after languages disappeared. Even after stars themselves changed their names. They remained. Watching. Remembering. Waiting for someone who could still see. The glowing memory continued drifting through the chamber. As slowly as clouds crossing a peaceful evening sky. And somewhere, deep beneath the sleeping city, a distant door began to unlock. Chapter 4, Part 5. The door beneath the memory. The sound was almost too quiet to hear. Not a creak, not the grinding of ancient stone. It was softer than that. Like two seashells gently touching beneath the ocean. Far below the chamber. Somewhere hidden beneath countless layers of forgotten halls. The door continued to unlock. One slow click. Then another. The glowing vision suspended between the statues shimmered gently. The peaceful city of Atlantis faded like morning mist. The golden towers dissolved into streams of blue light. The gardens disappeared. The bridges vanished. Even the smiling faces slowly drifted away. Until only one image remained. A single staircase. It spiraled downward into complete darkness. There were no walls, no handrails, only perfectly smooth white stone disappearing into the unknown. The staircase floated within the glowing sphere for several silent moments. Then, it rotated, slowly, until it pointed directly toward the floor beneath the expedition. Lucas frowned. Is it showing us something? Professor Alden nodded, almost absent-mindedly. I don't think it's showing us. He paused. I think it's inviting us. No one answered. The chamber itself seemed to agree. The pale light from the statues grew slightly brighter. Not enough to blind. Only enough to reveal something no one had noticed before. Thin silver lines spread across the stone floor. Ancient patterns. Invisible until now. The lines connected every corner of the room. Circles. Triangles. Constellations. Symbols older than written language. As the blue light flowed through them, the entire floor awakened. Tiny points of light appeared beneath their feet, one after another, until the stone resembled a quiet night sky. Maya slowly knelt. She reached toward one glowing symbol. Just before her fingers touched it, the symbol moved, not across the floor, across time. It shifted into another design. Then another. Then another. Thousands of symbols. Changing endlessly. Like a language that was still alive. She whispered, "It's thinking." No one argued. Because somehow, that explanation felt more believable than any other. The statues remained perfectly still. Watching. Waiting. Patient. As though every second meant nothing to beings who had measured time in civilizations instead of years. Outside. The ocean slowly carried a school of silver fish past the broken entrance. None entered. They simply circled once, then disappeared into the blue darkness, almost respectfully. Professor Alden looked upward. The cracked ceiling still held, but tiny beams of sunlight filtered through distant fractures high above. Each beam drifted through the water like strands of liquid gold. For a brief moment, the chamber looked less like a ruin, and more like a cathedral, a sacred place built not for worship, but for memory. Lucas noticed something at the center of the glowing floor. A circle, perfectly smooth, no carvings, no symbols, only silence. He stepped closer. The moment his boot touched the circle, the entire chamber exhaled. A deep vibration rolled through the walls. Not violent, gentle, welcoming. The glowing symbols stopped changing. Every line across the floor slowly turned toward the center, like rivers flowing toward a single sea. Then, the circle began to descend, without sound, without dust. A perfectly round platform lowered into the darkness below. Cool blue light rose from the opening, not bright enough to reveal what waited beneath, only enough to promise that the journey had never truly begun. Professor Alden looked at each member of the expedition. No one spoke. There was nothing left to discuss. Above them, the forgotten world remained silent. Below them, Atlantis had opened another secret. And somewhere in that endless darkness, something ancient, something infinitely patient, had just become aware that its guests were finally on their way. Chapter 4, Part 6. The Keeper of Silence. The platform descended so slowly that it was impossible to feel it moving. Only the chamber above, growing farther away. The blue light from the statues gradually faded into the distance until it looked like two quiet stars watching from another world. No one spoke. The only sound was the soft rhythm of their breathing inside their diving helmets. Even that seemed too loud. The shaft surrounding them was perfectly circular. Its walls were carved from a single piece of pale stone. Not one crack, not one mark of age, as though time itself had been forbidden to enter this place. Minute after minute, the platform continued downward. Professor Alden glanced at his depth monitor. The numbers no longer made sense. According to the instrument, they had already descended deeper than the surrounding seabed. Yet the platform kept moving. Lucas tapped the screen. Nothing changed. "It's impossible," he whispered. Maya looked upward. The opening above had become no larger than a tiny blue circle, like the last visible star before dawn. Then, it disappeared, not because of distance, because a silent stone ceiling gently closed overhead. Without a sound, without a tremor, they were completely sealed inside Atlantis. For the first time, there was no visible path back. Strangely, no one panicked. The silence itself seemed to calm every fearful thought before it could fully form, as though the city understood the human heart and softened it. Then, the platform stopped, not abruptly, but with such perfect smoothness that no one could tell the exact moment it came to rest. Ahead, a vast chamber stretched into darkness. There were no statues, No glowing symbols. Only hundreds. No. Thousands of slender pillars rising toward a ceiling they could not see. Each pillar held a small crystal at its summit. One by one, the crystals awakened. Not all at once. The nearest crystal glowed first. A gentle silver light, then another farther away. Then another, and another, like stars appearing one after another in the evening sky. Soon, the entire chamber shimmered with countless quiet lights. The explorers stood speechless. It did not feel like they were underground. It felt as though they had stepped into the night sky itself. Between the pillars, a narrow path appeared. Smooth white stone, untouched, waiting. They followed it slowly. No one needed to say which direction to go. The path seemed to choose for them. After several peaceful minutes, they reached the center of the chamber. There, resting alone beneath a single beam of pale blue light, was a chair. Simple, elegant, carved from flawless white stone. Not a throne, not a monument, just a chair. Empty. Professor Alden felt an overwhelming sense of respect. Not because of its appearance, but because of the silence surrounding it. The silence here felt different. Older. Wiser. As though every sound ever spoken inside Atlantis had come here and gently fallen asleep. Maya noticed something resting upon the seat. A small object, no larger than the palm of a hand. She stepped closer. It resembled a sphere made of perfectly clear crystal. Inside the crystal, tiny stars slowly drifted. Entire constellations turning with impossible grace. Galaxies no larger than grains of sand. Lucas whispered, "Is it?" Professor Alden slowly shook his head. No. His voice barely rose above a breath. "I think it's a memory." At that exact moment, the crystal pulsed once, a single heartbeat of soft blue light. Every crystal atop every pillar answered. The chamber filled with a quiet celestial glow. Then, a voice echoed through the vast hall. Not from the walls, not from the chair, not from the crystal. The voice seemed to rise gently from inside their own minds. Calm, ancient, kind. It spoke only 7 words. Asterisk. At last, someone has come to remember us. Asterisk, asterisk. And after those words, the silence became even deeper than before. Chapter 5, Part 1. The first name, the words did not fade. They simply rested, like snow settling upon an untouched field. No echo followed. No second voice answered. Only silence. Deep, gentle, infinite. The explorers remained perfectly still. None of them questioned whether they had truly heard the voice, because each of them had heard it differently. Professor Alden heard the voice of his late father. Soft, patient. The same voice that had first placed an old atlas into his hands when he was only 7 years old. Lucas heard the voice of his grandmother, the woman who had taught him that every civilization leaves behind one final story, hidden inside silence. Maya heard no familiar voice at all. She heard her own, older, calmer, as though she were listening to herself many years in the future. No one mentioned it. Some memories belong only to the one who carries them. The crystal sphere resting upon the white chair glowed once more. Not brighter, only warmer. Inside it, the tiny galaxies slowed. Stars drifted into careful patterns. Constellations folded into circles. Circles became symbols. Symbols became letters. Not English, not Greek, not Egyptian. Something older. Something that did not seem written, but remembered. The letters floated above the crystal like tiny ribbons of light. They turned slowly through the air, waiting patiently. Professor Alden removed one glove. Lucas looked at him. "You shouldn't." Alden smiled gently. "I don't think this place was built for fear." His bare fingertips touched the crystal. Nothing happened. For one peaceful breath. Then, every pillar in the chamber released a single beam of silver light. Thousands of narrow rays rose silently toward the unseen ceiling. The hall transformed into a quiet forest of stars. The crystal became transparent. Not empty. Transparent. Something waited inside. A tiny flame flew, perfectly still. It did not burn. It remembered. The ancient voice returned, even softer than before. Every city has a beginning, a pause. Every beginning has a name. Another pause. And every name? The chamber waited. Must be spoken by someone who still listens. The blue flame slowly lifted from the crystal. It floated into the air, no larger than a candle. Yet the entire chamber seemed to breathe with it. The flame drifted toward the far end of the hall. The explorers followed, not because they were commanded, because the light never hurried. It simply invited. The endless forest of pillars gradually opened. Ahead, another doorway appeared. Unlike every doorway they had seen before, this one had no doors. Only an arch carved from white stone. Across its surface, thousands of names shimmered like flowing water. Some appeared for only a heartbeat before disappearing. Others remained for several seconds. Each name written in the same forgotten language. Each carrying a quiet beauty. Maya stared at them, without understanding how. She could almost pronounce them. Not with her mouth, with memory. The blue flame stopped before the arch. It waited. Then, one single name separated itself from all the others. Its letters became brighter, slower, gentler. Professor Alden watched in silence. The ancient symbols gradually changed, stroke by stroke, curve by curve, until they became words the expedition could finally read. One name. Simple. Beautiful. Asterion. No one knew whether it belonged to a king, a child, a scholar, or the city itself. Yet the moment the name appeared, the white arch released a soft golden light. Somewhere far beyond it, a bell rang once. Not as a warning, not as an alarm, but as a welcome. The flame floated through the arch. Without hesitation, the explorers exchanged one quiet glance. Then, one by one, they stepped forward, crossing into the next memory Atlantis had chosen to reveal. Chapter 5, Part 2. the garden that never withered beyond the arch. There was no corridor, no chamber, no staircase. Instead, the explorers found themselves standing beneath an endless sky. For several long moments, none of them understood what they were seeing. They had descended far beneath the ocean. Yet above them, soft clouds drifted peacefully across a pale blue horizon. Golden light bathed the land with the warmth of an endless afternoon. There was no visible sun, only light, gentle, timeless. Maya slowly reached toward the air. She expected to feel water. Instead, she felt a cool breeze. It carried the scent of wildflowers, fresh rain, and something impossible to describe. A fragrance that felt like an old memory. Returning home, Lucas looked behind him. The white stone arch still stood exactly where they had crossed. Beyond it, there was only darkness, as though the doorway connected two completely different worlds. Professor Alden whispered, "It isn't outside. It's inside Atlantis." No one questioned how. The city had already shown them that impossible things could exist without needing an explanation. Before them stretched a vast garden. Its trees were unlike any species known to modern science. Their trunks shimmered with pale silver. Their leaves reflected shades of blue and emerald. Whenever a gentle breeze passed, the leaves chimed together like distant crystal bells. Not loudly, only enough to become part of the silence. Tiny streams wound through the grass. The water was perfectly clear. Small glowing fish drifted lazily beneath the surface. They left trails of light behind them, like tiny comets swimming through liquid glass. The blue flame continued floating ahead, never rushing, never stopping. The explorers followed the narrow stone path. Flowers bloomed on both sides. None of them repeated the same shape. Every blossom was unique. Every color softer than the one beside it, as though the garden refused to copy itself. After many peaceful minutes, they reached an enormous tree standing alone upon a gentle hill. Its branches stretched farther than any oak. Its roots disappeared into the earth like rivers. Its leaves glowed faintly, as though each one held a tiny star. No fruit hung from its branches, only thousands of small crystal seeds. Each swayed gently without falling. Professor Alden removed his helmet. The others stared. The air was clean, cool, filled with life. He took one careful breath. It felt perfect. Not heavy, not thin. Simply perfect. One by one, the others removed their helmets as well. No alarms sounded. No danger appeared. Only the whispering leaves above them. The blue flame drifted toward the great tree. As it touched the trunk, the bark shimmered. Ancient patterns awakened beneath its surface. Circles, stars, waves, constellations. Then, slowly, a face appeared within the wood. Not carved, growing naturally from the living tree. Old eyes opened. Kind eyes, patient eyes. Older than kingdoms, older than history. The tree did not speak immediately. It simply looked at each explorer, as though recognizing them. Not by their faces, but by something much deeper. Finally, Its voice came, soft as leaves moving in the wind. Welcome, travelers of the final age. The branches swayed gently. Several crystal seeds drifted downward. Instead of falling, they floated around the explorers. Each seed stopped before a different person. One before Professor Alden. One before Maya. One before Lucas. The tiny crystals pulsed with quiet light. The ancient tree smiled. If Atlantis has chosen you. A long pause followed. Then each of you must remember what you have never lived. The crystal seed before Maya slowly opened. Inside, a single drop of golden light began to rise. And as it reached her fingertips, the entire garden held its breath. Chapter 5, Part 3. The memory within the light. The golden drop hovered above Maya's hand. It did not shine brightly. Its glow was gentle, like the last light of evening resting upon a quiet lake. Maya did not reach for it. She simply watched. The tiny sphere seemed alive, not with movement, but with patience. Around them, the great tree remained perfectly still. Its silver leaves no longer chimed. Even the soft breeze had disappeared. The entire garden seemed to be waiting. The ancient tree spoke once more. Its voice carried no command, only kindness. Do not hold it. A pause. Allow it to remember you. Maya slowly opened her hand. The golden light drifted downward. Instead of resting upon her skin, it passed gently through it. Like sunlight through clear water. The moment it touched her, she closed her eyes. Not because she chose to, because the memory had already begun. She stood upon a wide white bridge. Far below, crystal water flowed without a single ripple. Children laughed somewhere nearby. Soft music drifted through the air. The city around her was alive. Not the Atlantis of legends. Not a kingdom of impossible machines. A peaceful home. Simple. Beautiful. People greeted one another with quiet smiles. No hurried footsteps. No raised voices. Only calm. An elderly woman passed Maya. She carried a small bowl filled with glowing seeds. As she walked, she gently scattered them into the wind. Wherever a seed touched the ground, a flower quietly bloomed. No one stopped to admire it. Beauty here was ordinary, expected, loved. Maya looked down at her own hands. They were not covered by diving gloves. They were different, older, stronger. She wore flowing white robes embroidered with tiny silver stars. Someone behind her spoke. "You're late." The voice was warm, familiar. Maya turned. A young man stood beside the bridge. His dark hair moved softly in the breeze. His eyes reflected the same peaceful blue light that filled the city. He smiled, not as though greeting a stranger, but someone he had known forever. "We've been waiting." Before Maya could answer, the vision slowly dissolved. Like mist beneath the morning sun, her eyes opened. She was back beneath the great tree. Only a single heartbeat had passed. Yet tears rested quietly upon her cheeks. Professor Alden looked at her. "What did you see?" Maya smiled softly. I don't know, she whispered. But I miss it. No one asked another question. Some memories cannot be explained, only carried. Then, the second crystal seed floated toward Professor Alden. Its light was silver, cool, peaceful. Without hesitation, it touched his chest. The old professor closed his eyes. His breathing became slow, steady. Moments passed. Then, a gentle smile appeared upon his face. Not excitement. Recognition. When he opened his eyes again, he looked toward the distant horizon of the endless garden. I've spent my whole life searching for Atlantis, he said quietly. But Atlantis, he paused, has been searching for us. The ancient tree slowly nodded. Its branches shimmered. Thousands of crystal seeds reflected the invisible light above. Then, the final seed drifted toward Lucas. Unlike the others, it was neither gold nor silver. It was completely clear, almost invisible. As it approached him, the birds that had been singing somewhere in the distant garden suddenly fell silent. The streams stopped flowing. The leaves became perfectly still. Even the blue flame paused in mid-air. The ancient tree's gentle smile slowly faded. Not into fear, into respect. For the first time, its ancient eyes held something unexpected. Concern. Very softly. Almost like a whisper carried by the wind. The tree spoke. This one. A long silence followed. Has never awakened before. The clear crystal touched Lucas's fingertips. And somewhere, far beneath the roots of Atlantis, something ancient opened its eyes. Chapter 5, Part 4. The sleeper below, far beneath the roots of the great tree. Far below the silent gardens. Far below the forgotten streets of Atlantis. Something awakened. Not with a roar. Not with violence. Only with a single breath. A breath so slow that it took an entire century to complete. Deep within an immense chamber hidden beneath the city, a crystal lake rested without a single ripple. Its waters had remained untouched since the final day of Atlantis. At the very center of the lake, a single island floated. Upon that island, someone slept, not upon a bed, not within a tomb. Inside a sphere of clear crystal. The figure was impossible to recognize. Neither young nor old. Neither man nor woman. Its face seemed to change each time it was seen, as though memory itself refused to decide. Above the crystal sphere, countless tiny lights drifted in endless circles. Like stars protecting the night. The sleeping figure did not open its eyes. It simply smiled, very slightly, as though hearing the footsteps of friends returning home after an unimaginably long journey. Back in the endless garden, Lucas gasped softly. The clear crystal had disappeared. Not shattered. Not dissolved. It had become part of him. A gentle warmth spread through his hands, then his arms, then his heart. He looked down. Beneath his skin, faint silver lines shimmered for only a moment. Like rivers of moonlight flowing quietly through his body. They faded almost immediately. Professor Alden stepped closer. Lucas. Lucas blinked slowly. I'm all right. His voice sounded unchanged, yet somehow older, as though it carried an echo from another age. The ancient tree studied him in silence. Long moments passed before it finally spoke. There are memories, its gentle voice whispered, that belong to places. Another pause. And there are memories. The silver leaves trembled softly. That belong to the world itself. No one interrupted. The tree continued. The first a beautiful. The second, a peaceful silence settled over the garden. Must never be forgotten. The blue flame drifted higher into the air. Its soft light spread across the branches of the great tree. Thousands of crystal seeds answered with tiny glimmers. One by one, they detached from the branches. None of them fell. Instead, they floated upward, slowly, patiently, like lanterns released into a windless night. The explorers watched in wonder. There were so many, millions perhaps. Each crystal seed contained a tiny spark of light, a memory, a name, a life once lived. Atlantis had not preserved its people in stone. It had preserved them in remembrance. The seeds rose higher and higher, until they disappeared into the endless blue sky above the garden. Lucas followed them with his eyes, without knowing why. He whispered, "They're going home." The ancient tree smiled once more. Yes, its answer was almost carried away by the breeze. They always do. The garden slowly became brighter. Not because the sky had changed, but because the great tree itself was beginning to glow. Its trunk shimmered with gentle golden light. Ancient symbols spread across the bark. The roots beneath the earth awakened. Across the distant hills, across hidden valleys, across forgotten temples buried beneath Atlantis. The same golden light quietly appeared. The entire city was responding, not to an alarm, not to danger, to recognition. For the first time in thousands of years, Atlantis knew it was no longer alone. And somewhere beneath the crystal lake, the sleeper's peaceful smile became just a little wider, as though the longest night in history was finally beginning to dream of dawn. Chapter 5, Part 4. The sleeper below, far beneath the roots of the great tree. Far below the silent gardens. Far below the forgotten streets of Atlantis. Something awakened. Not with a roar. Not with violence. Only with a single breath. A breath so slow that it took an entire century to complete. Deep within an immense chamber hidden beneath the city, a crystal lake rested without a single ripple. Its waters had remained untouched since the final day of Atlantis. At the very center of the lake, a single island floated. Upon that island, someone slept, not upon a bed, not within a tomb. Inside a sphere of clear crystal. The figure was impossible to recognize. Neither young nor old. Neither man nor woman. Its face seemed to change each time it was seen, as though memory itself refused to decide. Above the crystal sphere, countless tiny lights drifted in endless circles. Like stars protecting the night, the sleeping figure did not open its eyes. It simply smiled, very slightly, as though hearing the footsteps of friends returning home after an unimaginably long journey. Back in the endless garden, Lucas gasped softly. The clear crystal had disappeared. Not shattered, not dissolved. It had become part of him. A gentle warmth spread through his hands, then his arms, then his heart. He looked down. Beneath his skin, faint silver lines shimmered for only a moment, like rivers of moonlight flowing quietly through his body. They faded almost immediately. Professor Alden stepped closer. Lucas. Lucas blinked slowly. I'm all right. His voice sounded unchanged, yet somehow older, as though it carried an echo from another age. The ancient tree studied him in silence. Long moments passed before it finally spoke. There are memories, its gentle voice whispered, that belong to places. Another pause. And there are memories. The silver leaves trembled softly. That belong to the world itself. No one interrupted. The tree continued. The first, a beautiful. The second, a peaceful silence settled over the garden. Must never be forgotten. The blue flame drifted higher into the air. Its soft light spread across the branches of the great tree. Thousands of crystal seeds answered with tiny glimmers. One by one, they detached from the branches. None of them fell. Instead, they floated upward, slowly, patiently, like lanterns released into a windless night. The explorers watched in wonder. There were so many, millions perhaps. Each crystal seed contained a tiny spark of light, a memory, a name, a life once lived. Atlantis had not preserved its people in stone. It had preserved them in remembrance. The seeds rose higher and higher, until they disappeared into the endless blue sky above the garden. Lucas followed them with his eyes, without knowing why. He whispered, "They're going home." The ancient tree smiled once more. Yes, its answer was almost carried away by the breeze. They always do. The garden slowly became brighter. Not because the sky had changed, but because the great tree itself was beginning to glow. Its trunk shimmered with gentle golden light. Ancient symbols spread across the bark. The roots beneath the earth awakened. Across the distant hills. Across hidden valleys. Across forgotten temples buried beneath Atlantis. The same golden light quietly appeared. The entire city was responding. Not to an alarm. Not to danger. To recognition. For the first time in thousands of years, Atlantis knew it was no longer alone. And somewhere beneath the crystal lake, the sleeper's peaceful smile became just a little wider, as though the longest night in history was finally beginning to dream of dawn. Chapter 5, Part 6. The one who remembered. The eye opened. Without haste, without sound. It was not bright. It did not shine with power. It reflected only calm. Like the surface of a quiet lake before sunrise. Deep beneath Atlantis. The sleeper remained inside the crystal sphere. The single open eye gazed upward. Not through stone. Not through water. But through memory itself. For a brief moment, Lucas felt someone looking at him. Not judging, not examining, simply recognizing. He stopped beside the empty pedestal. The warmth inside his chest grew softer, almost comforting. The vast library without books remained perfectly silent. Thousands of glowing pillars surrounded him like a forest of patient stars. Professor Alden and Maya stayed where they were. Neither of them tried to follow. Some journeys could only be walked alone. The blue flame floated above the pedestal. Its gentle light circled once, then became still. The ancient voice spoke again. Do not offer your strength. A pause. Do not offer your knowledge. Another pause. Offer only what cannot be taken. Lucas lowered his head. He searched for an answer. His courage? No. His memories? No. His dreams? No. None of them felt right. Then, without thinking, he whispered a single word. Hope. The library became brighter. Not suddenly. Like dawn slowly reaching the edge of the sea. The empty pedestal answered. Its smooth white surface rippled gently, as though it had become water. From its center, a tiny crystal slowly rose, no larger than a raindrop. Inside it, a single golden thread floated peacefully. The crystal drifted toward Lucas. When it reached his hands, it rested there without weight. Warm, gentle, alive. The ancient voice whispered, the final memory was never lost. It was waiting. Lucas looked at the tiny crystal. I don't understand. You will. The answer carried no urgency. Memory does not arrive before its season. Far below, the sleeper slowly closed its eye once more. Not because the moment had ended, because trust had begun. Across the endless library, the pillars released countless tiny lights. Millions of them. They rose quietly into the air, like fireflies on a summer night. Each light circled the explorers once, then drifted upward, passing through the invisible ceiling, through stone, through the silent ocean, toward the world above. Professor Alden watched them disappear. What are they doing? The ancient voice answered with quiet joy. They are becoming stories. Maya smiled. So they can never be forgotten? Yes. The blue flame slowly moved toward a distant doorway hidden between two towering pillars. Unlike every doorway before, this one was already open. Beyond it, there was only soft white mist. No walls, no shadows, no visible path, only a peaceful glow that seemed to stretch forever. The flame paused at the entrance, waiting patiently. The explorers understood. Another chapter of Atlantis was ready to be remembered. Not uncovered, not conquered, remembered. And as they stepped toward the white mist, far above the ocean, the first rays of dawn touched the surface of the sea. For the first time in thousands of years, the sleeping city beneath the waves smiled with the morning. Chapter 6, Part 1. Beyond the white mist welcomed them, without hiding them. It was not fog, not cloud, not smoke. It felt softer than all of those. like walking through a forgotten dream. Each step was silent. The floor beneath their feet could no longer be seen. Yet they never stumbled. The path somehow remembered where it wished them to walk. Behind them, the library without books quietly disappeared. Not because it had vanished, because it had entrusted its story to them. Ahead, the blue flame drifted steadily onward. Its light had changed. It was no longer blue alone. Threads of gold now flowed gently within it, as though every memory they had witnessed had become part of its light. No one spoke. Words seemed unnecessary here. The mist itself carried a strange peace. The kind that arrives only after every question has been allowed to rest. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. Time no longer felt measurable. There was only the journey. Then, a faint sound reached them. Not music, not voices. A heartbeat, slow, gentle, immensely distant. One beat, then silence. Another beat, then silence again. Maya closed her eyes. She could feel it beneath her feet. The rhythm spread through the invisible path. Professor Alden whispered, "The city." Lucas nodded. "It's alive." The heartbeat continued. Not as the heartbeat of a creature, but of something much larger. Something made not of flesh, but of memory. The mist slowly began to thin. Shapes appeared ahead. At first, only shadows. Then columns. Then towering arches. Finally, an enormous circular chamber emerged from the white silence. Unlike every place they had visited before, this chamber contained nothing. No statues, no gardens, no pillars, no crystal seeds, only a vast circle of polished white stone. Perfectly empty. At the very center, rested a pool. Its surface was as smooth as glass. No ripples, no reflection, only stillness. The blue flame floated above the pool. Then, without hesitation, it descended into the water. No splash, no sound. The flame simply disappeared. For several peaceful moments, nothing happened. Then, the surface of the pool began to shimmer. Tiny circles spread outward. Each ripple carried images. Not clear enough to understand. Only glimpses. A child laughing. A sailor looking toward distant stars. An old woman planting glowing flowers. A musician smiling as the final note faded into silence. Thousands, millions of ordinary moments. Not history, life. The pool was not showing Atlantis' greatest achievements. It was showing why Atlantis had been worth remembering. Professor Alden slowly knelt beside the water. He reached toward one ripple, just before his fingers touched the surface. The water reflected something impossible. Not his face. Earth, the modern world. Cities filled with lights. Airplanes crossing the night sky. Children running through parks. Families eating dinner together. A fisherman casting his net into the sea. An old man reading beside a window. People laughing. People crying. People living. The ancient voice returned one more time. Gentler than ever. There was never only one Atlantis. The explorers looked around. The chamber remained empty. Yet the voice filled every corner. Every generation builds one. A pause, not from stone. Another pause, but from kindness. The ripples slowly spread across the entire pool. The images of the modern world blended with the memories of the ancient city, until they became impossible to separate. Past and present, different, yet somehow the same. Lucas looked into the water. For the first time, he understood. Atlantis had not survived beneath the ocean. It had survived wherever people chose wisdom over fear, compassion over pride, hope over despair. The pool grew brighter. The heartbeat echoed once again. Slow, peaceful, endless. And somewhere beyond the chamber, a new doorway, made not of stone, but of light, quietly began to open. Chapter 6, Part 2. The door of light. The doorway opened. Without hinges, without sound. It did not swing inward. It unfolded, like the first ray of dawn spreading across a sleeping ocean. Its edges were woven from countless threads of light. Each thread shimmered with tiny colors that no human language had ever named. The explorers stood quietly before it. No fear remained, only wonder. The ancient voice did not tell them to enter. It never commanded. It simply whispered, "The path has always been yours." The doorway waited, patient, as every doorway in Atlantis had waited before it. Lucas took a slow breath. The crystal resting in his hand grew warm, not hot, comforting, as though it recognized what lay beyond. He stepped forward. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world became silent. Not empty, perfectly silent. Even the gentle rhythm of his breathing disappeared. He looked around. There was no ceiling, no floor, no horizon. Only an endless ocean of stars. Not stars in the sky. Stars surrounding him. Every point of light drifted lazily through the endless space, like glowing seeds carried upon an invisible breeze. Soon, Professor Alden and Maya joined him. The doorway quietly vanished behind them, yet none of them felt trapped. This place did not belong to directions. It belonged to remembrance. One tiny star floated toward Maya. She extended a finger. The little light rested there for a heartbeat. Suddenly, a laugh echoed softly around them. Not her own. A child's laugh. Warm, joyful. Then the tiny star drifted away again. Professor Alden watched another light pass beside him. As it floated by, he heard the turning of old pages, the gentle scratch of a pen, the quiet excitement of someone discovering something new. Lucas reached toward a third. This one carried only silence. Deep, peaceful, welcoming. He smiled without knowing why. The ancient voice spoke once more. Every light, a pause, is one beautiful moment. Another pause. Nothing more, and nothing less. The explorers slowly walked among the drifting stars. There were too many to count. Moments of kindness, moments of forgiveness, moments of courage. Tiny fragments of ordinary lives, preserved forever. Not because they had changed history, but because they had changed someone's heart. far ahead. A single light shone brighter than all the others. Not larger, simply calmer. The blue flame emerged from within it. Its golden threads now glowed softly like morning sunlight. It floated toward the distant light. The explorers followed. As they approached, they realized it was not a star. It was another crystal sphere, suspended alone in the endless silence. Inside it, the sleeper rested peacefully, still enclosed within clear crystal, still smiling. This time, its eyes remained closed. The blue flame gently circled the sphere once, then settled above it. The ancient voice became almost too soft to hear. The keeper has dreamed long enough. A pause, but not yet. Professor Alden frowned gently. Not yet. The answer came with quiet certainty. The world above is still remembering. The explorers looked toward the sleeping figure. No urgency, no tragedy, only patience. The sleeper was not waiting for heroes, not waiting for saviors, only waiting for humanity to remember what Atlantis had never forgotten. That wisdom grows slowly. That peace cannot be forced. And that every act of kindness becomes a light that never truly fades. The crystal surrounding the sleeper released one gentle pulse. Thousands of distant stars answered. The endless sea of light shimmered together, like an invisible heartbeat crossing eternity. Lucas quietly closed his hand around the tiny crystal he carried. Its warmth matched the rhythm surrounding them. For the first time, he understood what Atlantis had protected all these ages. Not treasure, not power, but hope, the oldest treasure in the world. And somewhere beyond the endless stars, a soft melody, almost too gentle to hear, began to call them toward the next memory. Chapter 6, Part 3. The Song of the First Dawn. The melody was so quiet that it almost became part of the silence. No instrument could be seen. No singer appeared among the stars. Yet every note seemed to drift through the endless sea of light, like ripples spreading across perfectly still water. The explorers listened, without trying, without thinking. The music asked for nothing. It simply existed. Gentle, patient, timeless. The blue flame rose once more. It floated ahead, following the melody as though it had known the song since the beginning of time. The stars slowly parted, not moving away in haste, but making room. A narrow path of soft golden light unfolded before the explorers. Each step they took caused tiny circles of light to bloom beneath their feet, like walking across the surface of a quiet lake made entirely of starlight. Far ahead, a horizon slowly appeared, not a line separating sky from sea, but a place where light itself seemed to be born. There rested a single tree, smaller than the ancient tree from the endless garden. Its trunk was pure white. Its branches were delicate as glass. It held only one leaf. Just one. The leaf shimmered with every color of dawn. Rose gold, soft blue, gentle silver, pale amber. The explorers approached in silence. The melody became clearer, still without words, yet somehow, It felt familiar, as though every lullaby, every peaceful breeze, every quiet morning the world had ever known, had borrowed its rhythm from this song. Professor Alden stopped a few steps from the tree. He removed his gloves, not because he intended to touch it, because the moment felt worthy of bare hands. Maya closed her eyes. She could almost remember standing here before. Not in this life. Not in any memory she understood. Only as a feeling. A peaceful certainty. Lucas looked up at the single glowing leaf. It never falls, he whispered. The ancient voice answered softly. No, it waits. For what? Lucas asked. A long silence followed. Then, for the first dawn, none of them understood. Yet none of them needed to. Some answers become clearer only after many years. The blue flame settled beneath the tree. For the first time since their journey began. Its light became completely still. No movement, no flicker, only calm. The melody slowly faded, until only one final note remained. That single note lingered in the endless space. Like the last ripple upon a quiet sea, the lone leaf trembled, ever so gently, not falling, only acknowledging the music. Then, a single drop of light formed at its tip, round, perfect, brighter than a star, yet softer than moonlight. The drop fell, slowly, very slowly. It drifted through the silent air, until it touched the white ground beneath the tree. The instant it landed, a tiny flower bloomed, no larger than a child's hand. Its petals glowed with the colors of sunrise. The explorers smiled. None of them knew why such a simple flower felt so important. The ancient voice whispered one final thought. Every beginning, a pause, starts quietly. Another pause. So did Atlantis. The little flower swayed gently, though there was no wind. Then, far beyond the endless sea of stars, another melody answered the first, even softer, even older, as though somewhere beyond memory itself, someone else had begun to sing.